In this video, we'll discuss the AuthPoint gateway. The gateway acts as a bridge between WatchGuard Cloud and the local network to allow us to integrate with several protocols. The gateway also supports more than one installation to provide high availability. We'll dive into these topics and then show you how to set up a new gateway and how to troubleshoot problems. Now let's get started. First of all, the gateway has a couple system requirements. It must be installed in Windows, and it does require Java to function. We recommend Amazon's Corretto Java 11, but other options are available as well. The gateway is required for the Radius, Ldap, and ADFS integrations. Radius and Ldap packets both contain sensitive information that can be sent in plain text, so the gateway enables AuthPoint to integrate with those protocols in a secure way. The AuthPoint gateway hosts a Radius server so that Radius clients, such as a firewall, can authenticate users. This is commonly used to protect the logins to a VPN with MFA. The gateway does two things with Ldap or Active Directory. It enables AuthPoint to sync and import users from the Ldap database into WatchGuard Cloud, and it enables AuthPoint to authenticate Ldap users by sending their credentials to a domain controller via the gateway. The gateway is also required for the ADFS integration, which allows you to add AuthPoint MFA to a Microsoft ADFS server. Since Radius, Ldap, and ADFS authentication all depend on the AuthPoint gateway, at least one gateway must always be available in your environment or authentication will fail. To ensure this doesn't happen, we recommend that you install at least two gateways to provide redundancy. When you have multiple gateways deployed in a group, how they handle each protocol is a little different. Any of the gateways will accept Radius packets, so you can configure any of them on your Firebox and set additional gateways as backup Radius servers. However, Ldap and ADFS only use one gateway at a time. This will normally be the primary gateway unless it's down, and then a secondary will take over. You can have the primary plus up to 5 secondary gateways for a total of 6 gateways in any group. We recommend keeping all of the gateways in a group in one location and not spreading them out across VPNs, as this could increase the latency of authentication requests. The last thing to know is how the gateway handles syncing new Ldap users. Only the primary gateway will sync users. So if the primary is down, the secondary gateways will only process authentication requests. Here we can see a diagram that shows how the gateway uses Ldap. We see both a primary and secondary gateway have been deployed. In step 0, the primary gateway is able to sync the AuthPoint users with the Ldap domain controllers and import any new users. Then in steps 1, 2, and 3, AuthPoint sends the Ldap authentications through the gateway to be checked by the domain controllers. As before, we recommend that all of the gateways and domain controllers are deployed into the same location. If the primary gateway fails, then the secondary gateway will take over sending Ldap authentications to the domain controllers, but the secondary gateway will not sync any changes from Ldap. So let's get a gateway configured. Here we are on the WatchGuard Cloud dashboard. At the top, I'll go to Configure, then AuthPoint, then I'll select Gateway on the left. I don't have any gateways set up yet, so I'll click Add Gateway to get started. The only thing I need to fill out is the name, and then I can start to add any Radius, ADFS, or Ldap objects that I want to integrate. I've got some set up already, so I'll add those now. When I add my Radius resource, I also need to configure the Radius port that the gateway will use to listen for incoming Radius packets. The default port of 1812 will work in most environments, but you may need to choose a different port if there is already a Radius server like NPS installed on that computer. Note that once I've added my Ldap external identity, I can't add this to any other gateway. Now that that's been configured, I'll click Save at the bottom and be brought back to the gateway page. After the gateway is created, we can select Registration Key to copy this gateway's key to our clipboard. We'll need that when we go to install it. On the left, I'll select Downloads, and I can find the gateway installer and its system requirements. I'll download the installer and go ahead and run it on my computer. Here is the gateway installer on the computer that we'll be using. Before I run this, we want to verify that the computer has internet access, Java is installed, and it can communicate with our Radius clients and Ldap servers. We also want to have our registration key ready. I'll run the gateway installer, and I'll need to paste my registration key in to continue with the installation. This does use up the key, so if there's a problem after this step, I would need to generate a new registration key to try again. After a short time, the installer finishes and the gateway will attempt to start up. The gateway does not auto-update itself, so you will need to install new versions when they are released. Simply run the new installer on the gateway computer to update it. If we're planning on using Radius, we will also need to account for the Windows firewall. The gateway does not know the Radius port at install, so we need to either create a Windows firewall rule for the Radius port we configured, or we need to turn the Windows firewall off. Here I've added a new inbound rule to allow my Radius UDP port through the Windows firewall. If I go back to the Gateways page, I can see the new gateway is reporting online, and I can see the installed version as well as the IP address of the computer it's installed on. If I want to add a secondary gateway at this point, it's as simple as clicking Add Secondary, then copying the new registration key from this menu and installing the gateway on another computer. The secondary gateway will inherit the same settings as the primary. This menu is also where we can promote a secondary gateway to the new primary gateway if required. So how do you troubleshoot the gateway if something isn't working? To start with, the gateway operates as 4 services on the computer, and we can see them here in the list. All 4 of these services must be running for the gateway to work correctly, and these should be checked if the gateway is not responding. The gateway also stores log files in the computer at the following location: C, program data, which is hidden, WatchGuard, AuthPoint, then logs. We see a log file for each of the 4 services, and they will be backed up daily so there's a full record. If we open the gateway log file, we'll see logs related to the general operation of the gateway and its communication between the cloud and the other 3 services. Check this log file when troubleshooting connectivity issues to the cloud or when other services are not working. Next, we'll open the Radius log file to see logs generated by the Radius server that the gateway is operating. You may see errors here if the Radius server is unable to start due to a port conflict. This will also include information about incoming Radius requests, including the IP address of the Radius client and the user being authenticated. Check this log file when troubleshooting issues with Radius. If we look at the Ldap log file, we'll find logs for connectivity to the domain controllers, the Ldap syncs, and the Ldap user authentications. This may include error messages received from the domain when our credentials are rejected. Check this log file when troubleshooting connectivity to the Ldap domain controllers or when you need to determine why a sync is not working. The ADFS log file contains very limited log information about ADFS authentications. If you are troubleshooting ADFS, we recommend checking the ADFS server logs. Review our Integrate AuthPoint with ADFS video for more information. That will do it for the AuthPoint gateway. We covered how the gateway integrates with Radius, Ldap, and ADFS, how to deploy the gateway for high availability, how to set up the gateway and Windows Firewall, and how to troubleshoot a deployment with the services and log files.